Wait, lol, is this the person who's trying to solve trans issues with math, right? Is this the person... If this is that person, it was crazy. Oh, wow. Crazy. That's, damn, getting into ableism there. Crazy, just dismiss them as disgusting. Trying to solve people's identity with a math formula. Let's be real. What you don't get is that you need to listen to other people to help. This is called sympathy. Lol, certain transphobes. Oh, damn. So if you try to use logic, you're transphobe. Oh, wow. Try to go to the cold, calculated, enlightened way. It was unbelievably embarrassing. Damn, fam. If you try to do research on something and you try to support what you say with citations, then you're just as bad as transphobes. Damn. That's Don't read studies, anyone. Don't read studies, and do not support anything that you say with like logic, because if you do, then you're transphobic. Just go based off your feels. That's, yeah. That is the not transphobic way. Yeah, it's almost predictable at this point for Destiny community. Oh, so it's Destiny. So now it's not only, so it's if you cite something or if you use logic, then you're transphobic. And then if you are in any way associated with Destiny, then you're toxic.
Hey, RGR, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Dylan. Going good. Hold on. I'm just reading through these wonderful feedback comments in Twitch chat. This is amazing. Yes, she is. Don't give her the benefit of the doubt. You can see her olive branch buddy. Oh, my God. This is...
You like my chat?
Oh, yeah. No, this is great. Lol, if you go read studies instead of listen to your person who's talking to you, it's just weird. What's wrong with sympathy? Damn, if you read studies, if you put in the time to actually read and learn about a subject, then you're not sympathetic. Damn. I mean, I should just go, like, honestly, I mean, at this point, like, basically...
Probably you just got wrecked.
I know, I just got destroyed in the free marketplace of ideas. I mean, by that logic, then, like, there was a... I'm not sure if you saw it going around on Twitter earlier today. There was, like, there's one, there's like some conservative guy who had like a mishmash, like a patchwork flag. It was like half American flag, half Confederate flag.
Oh, I saw that. That dumb fuck. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I loved like the...
I would rather somebody... Okay, what's more disrespectful? Having that in existence or burning an American flag?
I'd probably say having that in existence, because at least like you can make an argument that like burning the American flag stands for something. Like the thing that they created was just an abomination. It doesn't stand for anything. It'd
be like saying like we're the Nazi feminists. It's like you can't put those two things together. They're so opposed to each other. You literally can't.
Yeah, like they are literally antithetical to one another. Like one was created to oppose the other. Yeah, so I don't know. So but the thing that stood out to me was when the guy was like, do your own research, and then the kid was like, why don't you do your own? And I was like, oh shit. So this just like reminded me of that, where it's like the people like to talk about like this nebulous idea of like doing research as if it's like I don't know, like it's always just weird to me to see like how people characterize it, you know? Like people have like really weird, like there's nothing weird about it. Like it's literally just like, you know, if you just read the literature on something, then you can like see if there's any like larger trends, or see if people agree if there's like patterns or whatever. Keep assuming, but basically TERFs. Oh my God. Okay.
So I'm a little out of it. So let's get to the questions about the no comment check stuff.
Wait, about the what stuff?
No comment check.
Oh yeah. All right. So my chat was telling me a little bit about this. So what's happening?
Okay. So basically, no comment check invited me onto our panel to basically do a show about platforming right wingers. It was specifically in response to the Rob Nord, John Burke, Bosch, Demon Mama thing.
Okay.
And on the night of, there was a few things that happened that are of note.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, this is so much and it's so complicated, so just do your best to follow me.
All right, I will.
So on the first night, where No Comment Chick was dissecting my roundtable, she called me out on Twitter and on her show about like how bad my platforming is and issues with like trans issues being debated on my show, etc., etc. And she also, with her chat, like made predictions, or like were guessing about my ex's pronouns without knowing my ex. And
What? Why?
yes, and the reason why is because I've talked about how, hey, I'm actually not bisexual, I'm gay, and this actually explains a lot how my last partner was, why my last partner, who is I basically said, who was a woman, is trans, right? Because
Wait, or sorry, can you explain
yeah,
that?
okay, so I was dating somebody, right?
Sure.
And they thought and I thought they were a woman when I started dating them, right?
Okay.
They ended up being trans.
Oh, so they ended
That's
up being like a guy or non-binary?
yes.
Okay.
And the thing is, but they're non-binary, but
Okay.
they also go by all pronouns.
Okay.
No Comment Chick doesn't know this, so I said she. And
Okay.
No Comment Chick in chat were debating on whether I was misgendering her,
Mhm.
or I was. And then this was, and at first she was like, "Oh, like, don't we shouldn't hypothesize about it." And then someone said, "But they're non-binary," and then she was like, "Huh," and was with her chat like guessing my ex's pronouns, which I think is not a good thing to do. Just generally, just start like doing the whole guessing game to figure out Dylan's pronouns because of his show with trans issues, his exes. That feels weird to me. Does that feel weird to you?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, like, I'd have to look at it because I mean, like, if it's like genuinely trying to like, like know so that you don't like harm someone, then like
It felt
sometimes it can be...
it was in relation to like me having these transitions on my show while also misgendering my ex. That was like the proposal.
Yeah,
Right?
then that seems kind of weird, Chan.
That feels weird, Chip, because it feels like you're looking for something there,
Yeah.
and also in like a really weird personal place.
Right. I mean, like, basically, like, I think it's fine to kind of like be conscientious and talk about what pronouns someone probably wants to go by if the purpose is to like not mistreat them or misgender them or whatever. Like that, that's like conscientious. But like if you're doing it like trying to look for a gotcha or some way to like harm someone, then like that's kind of weird.
So, by the way, they do go by they, them, she, her. So, it just didn't, and then also he, him on occasion, right?
Okay.
So obviously, like, it wasn't me misgendering anybody. It was just they didn't know, but were guessing. Anyway, the day of the show, she invites me to the show, calls me out all this, and then also learns that I've been going through a lot personally with my father's chemo, other stuff like that, right?
Sure.
And me going through a pretty big breakup, which was why they were also guessing about my ex.
Mm-hmm.
So she invites me on, but then it's like, wait a second, and called me out everywhere. I was like, but wait a second, you're going through all this personal stuff. And I said, don't worry about it. Sure, I can still come on. And she's basically like telling me like, yeah, this is gonna be a roundtable format. All these people are gonna be on. They basically agree with your position on platforming about your show. So kind of like a reassuring kind of thing, right? But was
Like,
also like making sure that I could leave if I wanted to.
So that's this right now. This is what you were told before you went on.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were told that it was going to be a round table and that there's going to be largely people who agreed with your position. Like that was the impression you had going in.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Go on.
So I go on, and for the first 2 rounds it is, but we're not talking about my show. We're talking about Mel, right?
Okay.
But then the 3rd hour comes on, and everybody starts leaving once the topic becomes about my show. And afterwards, I would find out that none of those people were told that one of the topics were going to be my show. And so they left. At least one of them left for that reason. The other 2 did leave, but I haven't confirmed with them. So that's a little weird, right?
Yeah, that basically you were assured that like, hey, I've cleared. Like you were given the impression that you were going on a show with other people who she had cleared the subject matter with beforehand and had gotten the impression that people would be like cool with what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems weird. That's like, yeah, I mean, like, if she gave you that impression, I mean, like, it depends on, like, what would have been a reasonable interpretation of what she said, right? Like, I think that basically here, if she would have reasonably led any person in your same position to believe that she would go and check with the other people to make sure that they were cool with your position, and then she otherwise didn't do that, then yeah, that's pretty shitty of her. Or that would be pretty shitty of her in that instance.
It gets so much better.
Oh, great.
Oh, it gets so much better. This is literally just some background that you need to have.
All right. Great.
Yeah, it's a stupid drama. So I go on her show, and everybody else leaves. So it's just me and her now.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts asking me questions. First question was about like gish galloping, right? Like the idea of the people on my show gish gallop. And I think I hit the question out of the park. We're talking about like, well, if you look at the format, John Burke and Vosh were being very laid back, and I think they fit those two roles to counter each other on the show. Demon Mama, Rob North countered each other very well when it comes to like their tempos.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention we were trying to balance this and this and this, and I think I'm thinking about implementing like time clocks, like chess clocks, so people can't talk for the like much more than other people. And I was talking, yeah, and I really think I hit the question out of the park.
Okay.
Right. The second question was about something called the Nazbol vortex.
I've been hearing
Do you know
this more and more, but yeah, go ahead.
So they brought this up, and I don't know if you know this. This is a word made up by Vosh, right?
I don't know if you made up, but that makes sense to me. Just because like I've only heard of it recently, and I know that Bosch has used it, so that would make sense to me.
Yeah, Vosh is the one who's came up with this word. If you Google it, nothing pops up.
Okay.
So I'm on the show, and she asked me this, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. After a really long and kind of twisted, kind of more like diatribe, but then turned into a question at the end of it. It's like, I have no clue what the Nazbol vortex is, and to be honest, I don't really care that much about this. Because it's not in relation to my show. The Nazbol vortex doesn't make sense in the sense of my show, because what I found out afterward, what it is, which is basically like the alt-right pipeline in a way, it doesn't make sense. Well,
or sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. There's a problem, or?
Well, I was gonna say that like I think that there's so I mean like I talk about this a little bit with people. There's probably like a valid thing to be concerned about. It's just like it's essentially the rise of like far-right populism that realizes that like actually they can make economically left-wing arguments and still be socially conservative and end up winning more people. Like that's my understanding of it.
I understand it, but I didn't have a direct comparison, but it was just not a thing that I was familiar with, and like at the time that was the only point I was trying to make. But thank you for giving me because I still haven't really studied it.
Yeah, no, that's all.
But I get it's like the Nazbol version of the alt-right pipeline almost. That's how I was kind of told to me, or I had some idea of this idea. I know what Nazbol was, but I didn't know this term, right?
Sure.
So she asked about it after a long time. I was like, I don't really know what this is, and I don't really care, because even in this context, it doesn't match in relation to my show, because the right on my show are just like basic old style American Republicans in some ways. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's nothing specially like Nazbol about them. The only person I could think that's even close to it, I know he's gonna hate me for saying this, would be maybe Endernax. I think that'd be the closest I've ever gotten to that.
Yeah, so my understanding just from seeing him is that like he gets super mad when people call him that. Like he'll like freak the fuck out. But then like when you I don't know, like everything I've seen of his arguments so far has been like socially conservative but economically left-wing, which seems to fit.
Well, I think the difference is he's not an extreme version of it to like race science or anything.
Sure.
So it's like calling him an Nazbol like has a connotation of being Nazi Soviets, right?
I mean, I guess I don't know. Like, if that's the definition of it, then all right. Then I guess
He just seems like a Dixiecrat, you know?
I guess, yeah, like whatever term we want to use to describe like people who are economically left-wing and socially right-wing, then sure, like that. Yeah, like if that's Dixiecrat or Nazbol or whatever, then yeah, like that. Like that's my understanding of him. And my understanding, like it seems to me that like that's kind of what Nazbol is meaning nowadays. Like whatever it originally described, this seems to be like insofar as how it's used, like kind of moving away from it, like how it was originally conceived of, at least from how I'm seeing it used in a lot of political discussion right now.
But I guess since it still has that connotation of it being Nazi Soviets, I try not to use it because, like, he is not a Nazi Soviet. Just not.
Well, I mean, like, sure, and I get that. I mean, like, I don't use the term too often. I just, like, so like when someone would say, like if someone were to say that like Endernax is Nazgul, he'd probably freak out because it's like, oh, I'm not that extreme, and then someone would respond and be like, oh, well, you're economically left wing but socially right wing, and then you would say, yeah, and then people would be like, all right, well, that was what I was trying to describe to begin with, right? Like, people are like, there's this disagreement about like the terminology, but everyone basically understands what the substantive beliefs are.
Sorry, so some layman just tweeted out a tweet, and oh my, holy shit. Okay.
Oh, what is it? Is it about me?
No, it's about me. It is. I'll just send it to you.
Yeah, no, just drop it into my chat so I don't have to like switch to DMs.
Oh, sorry. Give me a moment.
No, you're all good.
I'm really messed up right now, so you just gotta give me time.
You're all good, yeah. I changed around kind of like my Discord setup.
There you go. I put it in there. Oh.
Chill. I don't know what this means. What does it mean?
Scroll up.
There were several witnesses to the horror I experienced from Wait, what? Repeatedly brought back, thrown back into purgatory, and reemerged before. Wait, what? So what is this talking about? What is this? I don't get it.
So he was on my round table, and I just he found out he was Canadian, so I just started bullying him. like really bullying him.
All right, you know what? That's entirely justified. I'm sorry.
And I kept kicking him out of the chat randomly, but wouldn't tell him that I was the one doing it, so he just kept re-entering, but then getting kicked again. And so he just started freaking out, and then he got silent, and he just stared into the camera, and got closer every time I kicked him. It was like a horror movie. And eventually, he put on like Joker makeup, and that was the result of that, because he just got so psychologically damaged from being kicked so much.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
He seems pretty. I mean, like, he seems fine.
Yeah.
I used to follow him, but then I stopped because he kept flooding my timeline with Jordan Peterson shit, and I didn't want to see it.
Yep, he is conservative.
Yeah, well, I think that he would say that he's a centrist, but yeah, like when, I mean, like.
Well, he has conservative values, but he's economically like. Wait, no, he's reverse. I thought he was. No, he's socially progressive, but economically right wing or something like that.
I'm always curious, like, how that actually manifests. Like, what does that mean, like, when someone is socially progressive but economically right-wing?
I was just a libertarian, right?
Oh, so, like, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, I kind of guess. I don't know, whenever, I mean, like, if we're getting, all right, so that just means, like, kind of, like, not ANCAP, but kind of, like, within that same kind of sphere. I don't know, I'm always skeptic of, like, we don't have to get in conversations about fucking ANCAPs right now. Anyway, all right. So back to
yeah.
So back to what we were talking about. So, so you were being asked questions by what was I saying? You're being asked questions in a one-on-one situation, and eventually, so where did the questions lead?
So basically. It was the second one was the Nazgul Vortex, and the last one was like, and the last one was like just a question that made no sense. It was like referencing someone in chat, but it wasn't really a question. It just was like a diatribe. And after all of it, basically, I was getting kind of bored at this point, and then she started like making fun of my editor being French, and then it was like, I was like, whatever. I didn't really like. It was just like, whatever. Then at the end one, basically it was just bullshit, right? And so I responded by saying, can I be blunt? And she said, sure. And I said, I don't think I'm going to change anything about my platforming besides that I've previously agreed to. I feel more confident in my show now. And then she disconnected, or that's what I thought happened. What really happened is she muted and deafened me, and it put my face up on screen on Whereby and was like yelling at me while I was like, hello? And she was like yelling at me, this is how your trans community feels. This is what it's like not to speak. Fuck you, Dylan, for wasting my time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what happened.
So hold on, I just want to understand. So when you basically you said
She deafened and muted me, put me on screen, right?
Mhm.
With my camera while I'm like saying hello, hello, because I can't hear anything. And she's saying, fuck you, Dylan, you're wasting my time. This is, yeah, try to talk to me. This is how your community feels.
Huh.
Yeah. Weird, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like weird, champ. I don't know. So like, I'm gonna try to understand it. So basically, it's kind of like the idea that like, oh, you know, you're not actually like it would make sense more. Like, did y'all talk about like, did she like air out any like, did you talk about like whether or not you like your platforming was responsible up until that point?
Yeah, I've talked about it a lot, but even since then, she reacted to a conversation between me and Trigger Warning and Demon Mama.
I mean like in that conversation. Like, I'm just trying to understand like the context for how that
like
happened.
not just the one show, just like the show we were on, just that one, really, as far as I know.
So did you talk about like up until the point she muted you? Like,
yeah, I was talking, but then she just muted me and just started yelling.
Right. But I mean, I'm just trying to understand. So like, that would make sense more if like she had basically been talking to you for like an hour or so about this issue.
No, she purposefully she purposely muted me while we were talking, and then started yelling at me.
Yeah, but I'm trying to just understand what happened before that.
I just answered her question, like I just was like, I don't really think you've changed my mind on anything, basically, right?
So you were having a conversation about, like, she was trying to change your mind on whether or not.
Yes, on whether my platform is irresponsible.
Okay, so how did that conversation go over? Like, what were some of the points that she brought up?
Just the 3 I mentioned.
Mm.
So you can see why I felt a little unconvinced.
Can you remind again? Like, I just need to process these again. I'm sorry. Can you just remind me what the main points were?
So the first point was, let me think.
If you can't remember perfectly, that's fine.
Oh, wait, it was about Gish galloping, and I responded like, hey, we acknowledge that's a problem. Here's something we're gonna do is with the chess timers, but also here's some concerns that we kind of like went into about like actually having to deal with Gish galloping by matching up people of like similar like speech patterns, like Demon Mama for Rob Noor, Vosh for John Burke, and like I basically explained my process, right? And that was I would say that was the one legitimate question, right?
Okay.
The second one was about, again, the Nesbo Vortex, and the last one was literally an incomprehensible question that she was just reading chat from. Right?
Okay, I gotcha. All right, now this all makes sense. So all of these were being raised, like they weren't just like general discussion questions, like they were.
No, they were being raised against my show.
They were raised as criticisms against your show. Okay. Yes. That makes sense.
And so I was like, no, this doesn't really change my mind. And then she did the whole yelling thing, and I didn't know that happened. So I'm watching. I was about to say Bad Bunny. I was watching Demon Mama one night, and Demon Mama was like, Dylan and Irene had a falling out, and I'm like, a falling out? I mean, I disagreed with her, but it didn't feel like a falling out. And then I see on her stream what was going on from her perspective, and it was the yelling at me and everything that she did, right? And that's when I found it out. And so Demon Mama brings me on, and I also didn't know that Irene asked Demon Mama to react to this whole thing, because I think Irene wanted to like Demon Mama's like affirmation that this was correct. Oh, there's one last thing. Oh my gosh, this is the last piece I forgot to tell you. One last thing that does actually have to do with Demon Mama is that I used she, her, and they, them in reference to Demon Mama during the discussion. And I used they as a replacement for like he and like him for like Rob Noor, for example. I was doing it for everybody. Okay. But Demon Mama was one of them. And Demon Mama had said in the past for certain people like, hey, don't use they, them for me, use she, her. I didn't know that. And so I find out afterwards, after talking to Demon Mama, like, oh, it's okay, Dylan. You can use those pronouns for me. The only reason I don't like it is that sometimes people will purposely kind of use they, them to only refer to me as they, them, trying to rob me of my, being a woman and stuff, right?
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
And so basically she told me, like, yeah, it's okay when you do it because I see you say she, they, and you say Demon Mama, and as well as, like, they, them, and sometimes demon. And so right? It seems like an easy like answer that it's okay, Dylan, don't worry about it. It's fine, right?
So that's what she said?
Basically.
Okay.
And no comment chick saw that and was said, well, that's really weird. Like that's Dylan not using this language in reference to you that you said publicly you wanted to use. But again, I didn't know. And number two, that I could never ask Demon Mama this question because Demon Mama depends on my content. She depends on my channel, and she wouldn't be able to call me out because of all my clout.
Wait, hold on. Wait, what's the well, hold on. Give me that argument back.
That Demon Mama depends on my content, depends on my like clout by talking to me because I don't know famous.
So the argument that Irene made was that she speculated that the reason Demon Mama was fine with you doing it was not because she actually was fine with you, like not that she actually trusted you, but rather that she was afraid of like disparaging you somehow because she depends on you for content.
Bingo.
Okay, so that's
unprovable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so Demon Mama sees that and fucking gets pissed, obviously. The idea that someone was suggesting that her feelings weren't genuine about her own gender, and it was all because she cared about being, like, internet famous, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that would offend her. And she also agreed that No Comment Chick was kind of acting off the wall and that it hadn't done anything really wrong, and that she also didn't really agree with her criticisms, right? And so that pisses off Irene, and so she starts going off on Demon Mama, saying that Demon Mama right now is basically selling out to me. That's basically what she's saying. And that I was lying about the idea that she guessed my ex's pronouns. But that's the truth. I saw it happen. She actually deleted the VOD and a few other VODs that contain that. She says it's because she didn't want anybody to harass me because of my personal family tragedy with my dad's chemo and stuff. But she only did that after this whole thing blew up, not when she asked me. She asked me beforehand. She already knew and then did these shows. So that can't be it.
So that's evidence that she acted more out of a guilty conscience rather than out of like a genuine kind of reflection. Like she acted more out of like the thought of, oh, people are going to call me out on this, so I better get rid of the evidence, rather than, oh, I fucked up, so I should.
Because they were only deleted after I brought them up and reminded her that she did that.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm trying to think. All right, so where are we at in the timeline now? Or you can keep going.
Demon Mama, No Comment Chick's reaction to me and Demon Mama.
Okay.
And so, but she says that that's all a lie, that I'm lying. None of that really happened.
That her speculating didn't happen to begin with?
Yeah, or she pretended to not know. One of the two. I knew she remembered. Anyway.
Not great. Don't lie. Lying is bad.
Not great. The thing is, she said, but if it did happen, then, like, I'm sorry. But that was only after this is another thing, was saying that I told her what pronouns she should and should use, or like I corrected her on her pronouns. The interaction she's talking about was 2 months ago, and this was never brought up to me since then. During the show, I said, it's No Comment Chick's turn, their turn to end her ending statement, right? And she then said, it's she, her. And in my head, I'm like, oh, does she think that I said he, him? So I just say, hey, I said there. Basically said I said there. And she said, don't worry about it, she, her. That was the interaction.
Wait, all right, so she's bringing this up. Like, why is she bringing this up? Like, why is this being brought up now?
It's just a combining of it, you know. She kept saying, I don't think Dylan's transphobic. I think he's just like every other cis person, da-da-da. But this was bringing it in correlation to this whole moment, me with Demon Mama. and the clout stuff.
So she was bringing this up in this conversation, or in this like covering of you and Demon Mama as like potential other evidence of you maybe being transphobic, or
yes, but she was saying the whole time she's not saying I'm transphobic. I'm just like every other cis person, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or at least even better than the average cis person. But it was just weird to be brought into this context when I wasn't even trying to correct her on her pronouns. I was just miscommunication.
Right, and it's, I mean, like, there's like issues of it being like so far in the past, and also like, where, yeah, like you said, it's a miscommunication. Like, it's a big difference from like either a like the kind of mistake that cis people would normally make, or like an intentional use of they them to misgender a trans person, right? Like, it's not either of those, and it's also like so far in the past that it's pretty weird to bring it up now.
Yeah, it just felt kind of like just trying to find something to throw at me, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And then moves on to me and like is saying Dylan's a piece of shit. I wonder if Twitch is gonna ever do anything about its channel. If it's ever gonna do anything about the channel, and a bunch of stuff like that. Like, piece of shit.
About the channel? Like
that.
She,
that
like,
sounds like
really
one day if there's really bad transphobia on my show, then Twitch will take down my show. It felt like. It felt weird though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can get how that can come across as weird. So here's what I'll say, because I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you what to do with, I mean, like, we've talked about your show a couple times. The way I usually approach advising other people on what to do with their platform is that, like, you know, I'll give you my thoughts, but, you know, you can do whatever you want with the advice. Like, I'm just kind of giving you my thoughts, and you can do what you want. I mean, like, I share concerns that, like, you end up bringing, like, it's very hard to have, here's basically, like, if you want, like, my Steelman kind of concern about your platform as it affects, like, certain people of marginalized backgrounds, it's basically, like, kind of, it's like a 3 or 4-part argument. It's like, first, you necessarily sometimes have to bring on people with views which kind of violate, like, the paradox of the intolerant. Like, you have people who are intolerant of other people, especially minorities, just by virtue of who they are. So if you bring on those people, then they probably are going to act intolerant in some way of people of those minority backgrounds who they have those views concerning, which in some way will make it harder, maybe not impossible, but harder or more difficult than other people who aren't from that background to participate in those panels. So if you bring on those kind of people, it necessarily means that it's not necessarily impossible for other people from those backgrounds to come onto your panel, but they will be playing with effectively like a higher difficulty just from go, which in some way seems unfair. Now, I don't know how to remedy that other than just not having people with those views, but I also understand that, like, if the point is to have people with those views on there, then yeah. Go ahead.
The thing is, when we talk about the issues as being discussed, specifically when it comes to trans issues,
sure,
as of course I value, like, the humanity of, like, my trans viewers and, like, their respect. But when I say this, I do mean that the vast majority of the United States does not understand trans issues, and transphobia has not been, I think, otherized. Like, it's not like a thing that is like, if you pass a transphobic law, like, you are, like, destroyed in politics. You know what I mean? Because there are politicians right now doing it, and they're getting away with it, right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
so
like, yeah, I get it.
I do think that there's, like, some levels you gotta, like, not engage with because of, like, the extreme height of their conspiracy, like Holocaust denial, like the amount of, like, time and effort it takes to debunk Holocaust denial, or the extremity of it has already been, like, isolated from society. So it's like it's not a worthwhile fight to have, and all the advantage goes to them because they have the least amount of support anyway, and they just want to grow it.
Right.
Well, I don't think that matches when it comes to talking about these issues. That'd be the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is I set up these discussions very carefully when it comes to counterance of one another. Where Vosh was supposed to counter John, right? And Demon Mama was supposed to counter Rob Noir. And the combination of Vosh and Demon Mama for the last topic, which was trans issues, proved extremely effective when right off the bat Vosh said this could be some data that they're going to bring up that's wrong, and then immediately Rob Noir brought up the data, and it was a really good discussion, and he brought up points about puberty blockers I didn't even know about like how the extremely low retransition rate and the medical benefits of it for getting it for trans youth, and like all these arguments I hadn't heard before and I thought were effective, and my chat
Yeah.
did too.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
was actually
just so
surprised.
I thought of like in this instance that I don't think it exactly applies in that manner. That would be what I would say in response.
So basically, well, I mean, that doesn't really address. So I mean, like, I get it. I think that ended up working out fine. The thing I'm not talking about is whether or not it's possible to have like an overall positive outcome with these panels. I guess like the issue is that like by virtue of some of the subject matter and some of the people that you bring on, that there's just like, and not like necessarily, and this seems to be like the Steelman version of the critique I keep hearing, that there's just like necessarily a higher degree of difficulty and inaccessibility for people who come from the marginalized communities that are being discussed in some of these subjects. Like, for example, here, trans people, right? And like, I don't know how to remedy that, you know, because I understand like the validity of like what you're bringing up, like the good that the panels do and being able to talk about these subjects and being able to respond to them in the way that we do. But like, that doesn't change the fact that like necessarily even for Demon Mama in that situation, like it's going to be harder. Like that would be, you would agree with me that like that was a conversation that probably was harder for her to be a part of than for Vosh, right? Like you'd agree with me. Yeah, like that's kind of the issue, is that like there's really not a great way to structure that without completely eliminating that inherent higher difficulty just by virtue of who you are.
There's two things, right? So the first thing, for the level of difficulty when it comes to discussion, that's why usually I'll only get people who can talk about these issues who are really high effective at talking these issues. I'm never gonna put on a trans debate anybody who I think is like weak on the issue. Do you know what I mean? So for that higher difficulty, I think I'm introducing somebody of a higher skill level. And when it comes to accessibility for trans individuals, I 100% acknowledge that most people don't want to talk about the validity of their identity. And that's why I'm very open about the types of discussions these are going in. I'll tell people in advance, so hello, this is a trans discussion. If you don't want to engage, don't worry. I'll try to find another date for you to talk about something different. I put that there so people don't feel at all pressured, that if they don't want to talk about it, they can just wait a week. And so Demon Mama, I've had this discussion with a million times, and she has agreed to go onto these shows because she knows that it's difficult for a lot of people to talk about it, but she feels, she said she wants to, and she enjoys engaging in these conversations at times, and she like enjoys the like combat almost. And so,
sure.
What?
No, I don't know. I mean, like I have my own criticisms of like her, and also I guess kind of concerns. I don't know.
Don't worry, you come up in the story.
Oh wait, I do. Wait, what?
You do.
Oh god.
You do. So.
All right,
Anyway,
just keep going.
But anyway, none of these
questions
questions you're bringing up were ever brought up to me in this discussion, and if again I would actually engage on this, right? But none of that was ever brought up to me in the discussion, and even so, at the end of it, I was like, I don't really agree with you, right? And this is the reaction like I'm generally getting. You get what I'm saying?
Like I'm being called a piece of what do you mean the reaction is what you're
like because I don't agree with her. She like muted me, brought me on screen, called me a piece of shit, and all this other stuff. Right after guessing my ex's pronouns and now denying that she ever did that, and just a million like different insults to me, then directed D Mama. One of the things is, like every little bit in the discussion, she would start saying, "Huh, you know, I think I agree with RGR," just out of like randomly at times.
Wait, who would?
No comment chick. And after finding out Demon Mama didn't agree with her.
Okay. Wait. On what things?
Just randomly come almost, or like I don't exactly remember, but I just remember that being said multiple times.
Huh.
But it was basically in the context of the discussion. Anytime Demon Mama came up, it was a jab at Demon Mama.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, like, so there's two things. So I don't know if that's just, like, her trying to, like, justify kind of her negative feelings about Demon Mama, but like, you know, I'm of the belief that like there's lots of valid criticisms to levy against her, and I don't know, it's like the reason she had to go on like Vosh's stream after the hippy dippy battle. I don't know. I mean, like you saw my comments of her, and I wasn't trying to be like, you know, super disparaging. I mean, just like, you know, she has a lot of problems with her rhetoric. So like, if she was like agreeing with me in terms of like the substantive critiques I made, then I guess I can sympathize. But like, if it's more just like about, oh, Riley was critical of Demon Mama for being mean, and now Demon
It
Mama's
felt
being
like
mean
she was
to
bringing
me.
it up almost just to like the mention of the name to piss her off almost.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like, just it'd be like if like somebody went into like Vosh's stream and was like, I guess I agree with Destiny, just like randomly, or somebody went on Hassan's stream and said that, you know.
I gotcha. I can recognize the distinction there. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so all this happens, calls me a piece of shit. So maybe Twitch would do something about my channel. Like after like bringing me on screen and yelling at me like that, and while I couldn't hear and all that, and basically I didn't take kindly to it, and basically I said like, yeah, that's really shitty of them to do, and now she is saying that I'm canceling her. And that's the drama, which is mostly, I think, to be honest, like her just really overreacting to a conversation.
I think, yeah, there's probably a lot of that. So like, I'm trying to like think through how I want to give my thoughts on this, because I mean, it's not like
I promise if I sent you the footage, you'd be blown away. Like how like off at me she literally went. It was fucking blowing my mind.
I mean, I believe it. I don't know. Like, No Comment Check recently tried to like talk about some drama that I was involved in with the debate I had a couple weeks ago, and I just wasn't really looking into it.
There's something. One of her mods like left the community, and like DMs were sent, and basically, so one of her mods left the community because she said that she was bullying me, and that I was also later told that multiple people have said that she's using this to try to like milk the drama cow almost, and
yeah,
like basically raise her viewers, something like that.
You mean like this drama between you, her, and Demon
You,
Mama?
me, and yeah, basically. But it was mostly, I think it was mostly originally targeted at me because she's more apologetic towards Demon Mama, but like not at all towards me.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. I realize, so like the thing is, I fucking hate drama, and I say that, like, I wouldn't normally talk about this. The reason I'm bringing you on, or like I want to talk to you, is because like I know you, I know you're a decent person, I know that you're like acting in good faith and that you wouldn't intentionally try to harm someone. So like with this, I don't know, I'll just give like my brief opinions. It doesn't sound like you did anything like drastically in the wrong. It's hard because you're in a situation where, like, I do think that you have a system that does necessarily mean that it's harder for trans people to be able to participate. Like, even if you say that, like, I understand that your response to that is to basically say, oh, well, that's why I only bring on people who are, like, strong enough to be able to deal with it. But that doesn't really negate the fact that, like, the reason you have to find people who are competent enough to deal with it is because it's necessarily harder on them than for anyone else in any other position, right? Like, you have to find people who can basically compensate for the fact that it's more difficult for them. And, like, recognizing and just being able to recognize the fact that, like, there is that inherently higher difficulty is something that it's very hard for, I think, a lot of people in the trans community to basically recognize, or to like, just kind of, like, be fine with. I hear, like, I understand the importance, like, you know, unfortunately, trans issues are a very, like, live political subject in society. I wish it wasn't, but it is, and a lot of people in society probably mostly think more similarly to the people who you bring on who are anti-trans, so there is benefit to addressing them. I don't know what the right way is to be able to mitigate their impact without completely abolishing your current format. Like, basically what I'm moving towards is just, like, making content which is more targeted on addressing ideas rather than like addressing people with certain ideas, like just cutting out the middleman entirely. But
Well, yeah.
I don't know how you
It,
can.
it
I
all
like
for me. It just all depends on like high performance and them having the tools to do it. So at the end of the day, like this side was more effective and therefore it brought more people over to that side of the aisle on this specific issue, and that the people at home have directly the questions answered if they've ever heard like a transphobic argument before, right? Because if I just go in front of a crowd and say, here's a bunch of data on trans stuff, that's one thing, but that isn't like anyone responding to like criticisms of that. Those things need to be responded to, and these are one of the formats where people can do that.
So let me ask you this question. So the way that you've always like described your the way that you've always described your format to me, your panels, has always kind of given me the impression. I just want to like know if this is true. So is it basically that you structure it so that it's always kind of like slanted to favor people who are left leaning, since that seems to be your political bias? Or is it like, or is it more like that you try to match people so that it's kind of like either side has an equal chance of winning?
I do my best to make it so either side has an equal chance of winning. But I just from like, since I'm a left winger, I'm able to look from a left wing. I can't do it from the right wing perspective, but from a left wing perspective, be able to see the type of things that I think left wingers need to be effective on going into a conversation and making sure those things are checked. And so I guess you could say that's kind of a left wing bias, but I think that's mostly just for me not having a right wing perspective.
I guess. That's probably like another, like the big concern, right? Because I mean, like, in order for these panels to actually be like good, because I mean, like, if you just had the panel where it was like all one-sided, like it doesn't end up making for like a good or entertaining like panel, because you aren't able to really, you know, one side just completely dominates the conversation, and then no one wants to join of the opposing side because there's no incentive to, because you're just going to be bullied by everyone, unless you're some kind of masochist and you want to go like a 5-on-1, which, hey, if that's you, then go for it. But that's not most people. But like here, the consequence of like having a more balanced panel means that you're kind of necessarily treating both positions equally. And I guess it can just be hard for people where it's like the positions are very much like not equal. Like, let's take trans issues out of the equation. Let's talk about like climate change or global warming. You know, like something where it's like vastly like like there's so much literature on this. Like, you know, I do like my docs and whatever. Like I was struggling to fit it all in there, and I'm pretty sure that there's still like a lot of literature that I still haven't been able to fit in the one that I currently have. Like, there's just such an overabundance of literature all supporting the same conclusion that it's just absolutely silly to look at all of that square in the face and be like, oh yeah, no, this isn't the cause of people and things like that.
I know this doesn't make sense since I'm a person of faith, but have you ever thought about religion, for example? The overwhelming evidence shows that like there isn't a God, point blank period, right? But there's still like an overwhelming amount of people like myself who believe in God, right? And
right.
so
I think that's like a slight, I don't know, I'm not sure if I would make that kind of comparison, because it's not that there's overwhelming evidence that there isn't a God. It's that like, because God is like one of those kind of subjects where it's like you can get basically to a 99.9% certainty, but you can never know with absolute certainty, right? Like, you have to inductively reason it out. Whereas like with climate change, you can deductively reason it out, you know? I feel like because of the different methods of reasoning, like there's always at least some kind of discussion with faith, since it's like an inductively reasoned process. Whereas like with a lot of other like more deductive things, it's pretty open shut.
At least I'm still alive.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of out of it. This
Oh no,
conversation.
you're fine. Like, I'm not trying to like debate or anything. I'm just kind of like trust me, I'm not trying to like press you or whatever. I'm just
I really want to respond, but I'm like I'm pretty out of it.
You're totally fine. Yeah, it's just oh god, where was I going with it? Yeah, so so basically it's just like
But
I guess that the reason I brought it up was just to be like, you know, if you want to host these things, maybe here's the reason why. Because let me talk about someone who hosts similar kinds of things but doesn't catch these many kinds of criticisms. Modern day debates, right? Because modern day debates has managed to crack a like code or a platform where he hosts like crazy, like super far right-wing people. And
yeah, I mean, like literal neo-Nazis when you look at the I mean, on a few instances, not a ton, but a few instances, like not Nazis when you talk Destiny Bosch, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yet, as far as I'm aware, I don't know, maybe I just don't see the criticism, but I don't see him catching nearly as much criticism for those.
Well,
Like,
do
for
you
those
think
debates.
he would have the same problem? In fact, I think I have a more limited, like I have had multiple opportunities to put Nazis or fucking like
Well,
fucking
right.
really hardcore racism, but I never take it because I just don't want to go way over. There's like there's a line of acceptableness in society, and I want to stay within the realm of what is socially acceptable in the United States, right?
Right. But I think, and this is just my guess, well, modern day debates doesn't get that criticism because he has a different type of audience. I think there's truth to that. So I think that like
That would be my main thing.
yeah, but like I think it goes like a step further than that, right? Because I think that it's not only that he has a different audience, it's the fact that like his audience doesn't have like an expectation for his political view to shine through his content, whereas like your audience pretty broadly knows you personally and knows you as like a pretty progressive person, and so they kind of hold you to a different standard, a standard that they hold people who are broadly left-leaning to deliver consistently persuasive left-leaning positions, and therefore to like maximize the likelihood of giving those positions and minimizing the ability for opposing people to be able to provide countering positions. And so like with your panels, I think that one of the problems is how that manifests is that like people basically expect you to try and create essentially a forum where there's an inherent likelihood of people on the left succeeding or coming out on top. But if you do that, then you're also explicitly creating a biased forum, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you probably don't want to do that because if you create a biased forum, then
Certain people want to come on.
yeah, exactly. Like you're not gonna actually get the people like who you want to, who would actually be good to go against to come onto your platform, right? So you have like a mixing of different expectations for what people want from you and your audience. You know, some people want you to be a really good trans ally and not just a neutral debate host. But if what you want is to just be like a neutral
wait,
platform.
let's remember there's certain norms that are enforced on the show that I don't think would be enforced in most other formats you would see online. For example, if you misgender people, like you get banned. Like we saw that with Tyler Blumman, for example. Like,
yeah,
that's a rule that we try to enforce.
Right, and I think that that's good. I think it's good to like there are certain things that you're able to do as a neutral platform, but like I think that the problem is kind of I'm seeing it is that like people don't know if you're a neutral platform. Like there's a lot of people who follow you who see you as like someone with a left-leaning platform, and then there's other people who see you as just kind of like a neutral debate platform. And you probably just need to like iron out which you actually are, and just make it very clear to your audience.
But the thing
like,
is, it doesn't really matter if I personally iron that out for the public to see, if either way, right? Because if let's say I'm not a neutral left-wing platform, right? Then the problem on the one hand would be solved, right? So, but if I am not a neutral, if I am a neutral platform, right? Then the problem the other way would be solved.
Well, it depends on the problem. I mean, like, this is one of those situations where I'm not sure if you can solve every problem. So you have to pick which problems you want to solve. Right?
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.
So-
but if I ever admitted it, then that would hurt my show.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it would also, I mean, it'd probably be like more honest, or it'd at
I mean,
least,
what,
like,
what
let
is it
people know,
important?
like,
Is
where
that
you're
honestly
at
still
better.
important?
Well, I mean, like, sure, but so I'm trying to think of the way to articulate this. I think that it's
And
probably.
I'm really out of it right now, so I don't have no clue what the hell I'm saying.
All right, you're all good. Maybe here's the way to put it. So if there's a lot of people who are mad at you for promoting viewpoints that are considered harmful or problematic, then there's kind of two, and like, let's assume that they have like a super steelman argument, kind of like what I articulated earlier, that by virtue of promoting these people, you make it inherently harder for people who those views directly implicate to be able to participate no matter what. Like, just by virtue of having them on, it is necessarily more difficult for other people to be able to participate. So there's like two...
before we finish this conversation, are we acting in the realm of we're trying to find out if Dylan is a piece of shit or isn't a piece of shit?
No, I don't think you're a piece of shit.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I'm just like right now. All right, so this is something I'm trying to do more often, and I'd like to normalize it. I'm just trying to do like constructive feedback.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like there's two ways you can kind of go about this, as far as I can see. So like you can either like basically to resolve the issue of your audience wants you to eliminate this disparity, this discrepancy.
Can I just say it like this? I'm not a platform. I'm a publisher.
I'm not sure if that'll work.
Would it work?
I'm not sure if that'll float it.
Damn.
I mean, you can try it. Listen, you can try whatever you want. I'm just giving you recommendations. All right, you can do whatever you want with that. So like on one hand, you could like bite the bullet and just say like, you know, yeah, ultimately I'm a more left-leaning person. I'm going to promote left-leaning views, and that means probably that you want to limit some people who you have on your show, specifically those with views that end up, you know, necessarily disparagingly making it more difficult for certain people to be on your platform. That would appease people like No Comment Chick and similar other people who think that like your platform is like inherently harmful in the way I've kind of articulated. Now, the other way of going about this is just by acknowledging that like, listen, my platform at the end of the day is neutral, right? And like, I understand that there are some negative externalities that comes from having a neutral platform. Like, that means that there's going to be some people who I bring on who are going to have disparaging views. But like, that's just like, it is like when I balance that interest, like that fact, when I balance like that reality against the countervailing interest of trying to have like a forum to respond where people can have an equal and fair opportunity to respond to those ideas, like that seems like a justified trade-off, then that's another way you can describe it. And you'll probably never be able to like 100% like make those people satisfied, but like that's just because those people don't want to have a neutral platform. What they want in that case is a platform which favors their worldview.
Yeah.
And if you're just like clear that like, listen, this is just a neutral platform, I'm not trying to favor any worldview in particular, I'm progressive myself, so I'm not going to let people do things like misgender, but you know, ultimately I'm not going to like bias the conversation one way or another, then that could be a way where it's like, even if you're not going to make everyone happy, like you'll be in a similar position then effectively as like modern day debates where, you know, they like people may not be happy all the time with it, but they understand that just kind of like the way that the platform works.
That's the way I'm trying to lean. It's just I believe that when given a neutral platform in an environment that isn't fucking totally insane, and with given the type of effective cast members I have, like cast members, people on the left that I bring on, that I think our side is going to do well in these environments and it'll be beneficial.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I mean, like, I don't know, like, the reason I'm left-leaning is because I read a lot, and it seems like all the smart people seem to agree that, like, yeah, left-leaning positions are usually pretty good. I don't know. So, like, I don't know, maybe there's a future where suddenly academia starts swinging right-wing, and I become a conservative. I don't know, we'll see.
Maybe.
But, yeah, so, no, I mean, like, I do think that does ultimately work in your favor, that like all things being equal, that ultimately left-leaning people should come out on top because they actually have the good arguments on their side at the end of the day. But yeah, it's just like as far as, but like just being able to recognize that, like, unfortunately, I genuinely don't think that there's a way to completely eliminate this kind of inherently higher difficulty for certain people of certain backgrounds. So like, you know, it's just figuring out like, all right, so if you're not going to like ultimately end up removing people who cause that difficulty to exist in the first place, then how can you basically justify your platform to allow it at all? You know, that's kind of where I'd say your mind.
I guess it would be a net. I think it would be a cost analysis, like cost-benefit analysis, when it comes to the fact that I think the benefit is doing by taking willing participants, and the willing participants reduces the harm, to engage in these conversations helps benefit like the general like viewpoint of people online towards like, you know, left-wing.
Right. Maybe
positions
all
and
right.
translators.
Maybe here's another way to put it. Yeah, because like I agree.
Man,
with
every
that.
sentence is like running a mile.
Every sentence of mine or every sentence of yours?
Mine.
It's all good. So maybe here's an easier way to put it. Basically, if you start with like point A, you want a left-leaning platform, then that opens you up to criticism for having a good left-leaning platform, right? And so like if you concede you have a left-leaning platform, that means people are going to that opens up the possibility for people to ask questions. Okay, so are you doing things which would maximize your efficiency or your performance value of having a left-leaning platform? And one of the things that people would probably look at in evaluating that is going to be like, you know, are you like raising up the kind of voices that we want and minimizing the kind of voices we don't want, right? And so like if you just concede that you don't have a left-leaning platform to begin with, then you just avoid all of those questions because they wouldn't apply to you to begin with.
Yeah, so I'm based.
Depends on your. I mean, like I don't know. I have a pretty left-leaning platform. Like I'm always like me. I want to
Like
win.
the thing is, ultimately my platform is left-leaning because the viewers that are broad are eventually exposed to my left-wing ideas. So, but if I have one not neutral platform a day, that still ultimately brings them closer to left-wing platforms, right?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So I guess like here we're talking about like your panels in particular, right? Like if we're talking about your panels in particular, you just have to be clear that like those are not like you act with the best of your ability to make sure those are not biased, right? And if you concede that, then you basically can avoid a lot of the other criticisms because there are criticisms that only are applied to people who want to have like a left-leaning platform to begin with.
Yeah, but I am kind of giving that up on the base. That's for 1 day a week. That's the idea. But I just think that my site won't be better because of like the type of casting.
Sure, I gotcha. Oh my god, we are. I'm sorry. I'm just amazed. I'm doing like I am carving through this dungeon right now. Like holy shit, I'm just dropping this boss.
Yeah, your character is going stabby stabby.
Yee. I do lots of the stabby. Oh, come on. Can we kill it? Ah, fuck. 1%. Oh, there we go. Nice. Good shit. Listen, I've been playing this game since launch. Like, I'm fucking great at this.